Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're going to look at something that usually puts people to sleep faster than a heavily redacted legal document, right? But I promise you, this isn't some dry 8th grade grammar lesson. It is actually the ultimate secret weapon for your professional credibility and for the absolute clarity of your communication. We're talking about advanced grammar today, specifically the really fascinating world of correlative conjunctions. So think of these not as rigid, boring constraints, but rather as the underlying architecture that gives your most complex ideas structure and real impact. When you master this, and you will, you literally elevate your writing from merely understandable to absolutely undeniable.
So I want you to ask yourself honestly, are your complex sentences grammatically unbalanced? It's a serious question because in a high-stakes environment, the consequences are incredibly real. You can have this brilliant, world-changing idea, but if the sentence structure you use to deliver it is wobbly or kind of lopsided, you lose your reader's trust immediately. Poor sentence structure creates cognitive friction. Your reader has to work harder just to figure out what you mean. And honestly, in professional writing, you never want your reader working hard just to decipher your sentences. So, before we introduce any kind of academic terminology, I want you to just keep this core concept of balance right in the front of your mind.
Okay, let's dive into this. What exactly are we talking about here? Well, correlative conjunctions are basically pairs of words that work together to join equal elements in a sentence. I actually love to think of them as dynamic duos. They operate as a team. You literally cannot have one without the other, and together, their entire job is to emphasize the relationship between the two elements they're joining. But to use these dynamic duos correctly, you really have to develop a keen sense of spatial awareness in your writing. They demand absolute grammatical balance. So let's see what these pairs actually look like out in the wild. All right, here is your cheat sheet. First up, we've got either or, which partners up to frame a simple binary choice. Like, we can either go to the cinema or stay at home. Fast, simple, clear, right? Then we have the inverse, neither nor, which rejects two options entirely. He is neither wealthy nor famous. Next, we move into emphasis with both and, which highlights that two things are simultaneously true. She is both intelligent and hardworking. Now, if you want to add even more emphasis, really punch it up, you reach for not only but also. This pair is absolutely fantastic for dramatic addition in professional writing. Think about it. He not only finished the report, but also prepared the presentation. It builds a tiny bit of suspense, doesn't it? And finally, we have whether or, which sets up alternatives, usually when you're in a state of indecision. Like, I haven't decided whether I should buy the red one or the blue one. So those are your tools. But just having the tools in your toolbox isn't enough. You got to know the primary rule for actually deploying them. And that crucial point is understanding the core mechanic of these conjunctions, which brings us to the golden rule, parallel structure. I want you to picture the classic scales of justice. Got it? Okay, when you use correlative conjunctions, the grammatical weight on both sides of the scale, meaning the structure right after the first half of the pair and the structure right after the second half, must be identically balanced, no exceptions. If you put a noun on the left side of the scale, well, you must put a noun on the right side. A prepositional phrase on the left requires a prepositional phrase on the right. If those scales tip even a little bit, the whole sentence breaks. Let's look at exactly what happens when those scales tip. Notice the phrase marked as incorrect here. Just listen to the cadence for a second. He is not only a great manager, but also paints well. Did you feel that little stumble? It feels clunky. It feels slightly awkward. And why is that? Because after not only we have a great manager, which is a noun phrase, but then after but also we suddenly shift gears into paints well, a verb phrase. The brain is expecting a matching pattern, and it just doesn't get one. Now look at the perfectly balanced version marked as correct. He is not only a great manager, but also a talented painter. Ah, smooth precision. Noun phrase matched perfectly with a noun phrase. The balance is totally restored, and the sentence sounds infinitely more professional and polished.
And this brilliantly illustrates that the parallel structure rule applies to absolutely every type of grammatical unit. Notice the jarring tension in this first example. You must either clean your room or to wash the dishes. Yikes. Here, the writer has placed a base verb, clean, after the first conjunction, but an infinitive verb, to wash, after the second. It creates this really uncomfortable grammatical tension. But the moment you strip away that to and match the base verbs in the correct version, you must either clean your room or wash the dishes. Bam, that tension is completely resolved. The structure is perfectly mirrored. Base verb to base verb.
So now that we've mastered the scales of justice, we've got to shift our spatial awareness to a specific, almost sneaky quirk regarding two of these pairs. I actually call this the proximity trap. Because, let's face it, the English language absolutely loves to throw a wrench in the gears just when you think you've figured it all out. When you're using either or and neither nor to join subjects in a sentence, there is a built-in trap regarding subject-verb agreement that catches even brilliant, seasoned writers completely off guard. Think about it. Because you have two subjects, which one dictates the form of the verb? Do you treat them as singular, plural? Well, the answer relies entirely on physical space.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how visually we can solve this problem. This is the rule of proximity. The verb simply morphs to agree with whichever subject is physically closer to it on the page. Take our first example. Neither the employees nor the manager was happy. We've got a plural subject, employees, and a singular subject, manager. Because manager is sitting right next to the verb becomes singular, was. Simple enough, right? But check out the second example. All we did was flip the subjects. Neither the manager nor the employees were happy. Now the plural subject, employees, is parked right next to the verb, so the verb seamlessly morphs into the plural form, were. It's a brilliant, purely geographical rule. The verb basically always looks to its immediate left-hand neighbor to decide its identity.
All right, so we've covered the dynamic duos, the golden rule of parallel structure, and the proximity trap. So here's my challenge to you today. Look at your last professional email, or maybe that report you're drafting right now. Are your conjunctions perfectly balanced? Are you accidentally mixing up noun phrases with verb phrases? Are you falling headfirst into the proximity trap? By consciously applying this spatial awareness to your daily communication, you're going to instantly elevate your writing. You will project clarity, precision, and authority. The tools are right there in front of you. Keep balancing those scales and keep writing with intention. But it makes you wonder, if these are the absolute rules for balancing two ideas, what happens to the architectural integrity of your sentence when you need to balance 3 or even 4? Well, we'll leave that grammatical tightrope for another day.